The Love is Blind Season 4 finale was a wild one. The four weddings were dramatic, emotional, and some shocking. And we're unpacking it all from who said yes to who said no. Hey guys, it's Kayla Thompson. Welcome back to Shared News. Before we start breaking down the weddings of Love is Blind Season 4, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss any of our panels on pop culture, reality TV, and so much more. Today, I am joined by the pop culture guru, Hannah Fletcher. Hannah, we have not been able to talk Love is Blind yet, so let me know, what were your thoughts on this whole season? Because, girl, it was crazy.
I agree. It was a very crazy season. I will say at first, when I started watching Love is Blind, I don't know how other people feel in terms of this, but when I started watching this first the beginning of the fourth season here, I was like, I wasn't into it, to be honest with you. I thought it was kind of starting out slow. I was like, I was enjoying it. And like, I'm the type of person, especially with this show, like, I'm going to finish the season. It's not a question of that. No matter what happens, I'm going to commit to the bit. I'm a diehard fan, tried and true, watch every season. But it started out a little bit slow for me. And then then things took a turn. I just feel like this cast, they out of nowhere, I feel like they just brought the drama. They really, really did. Like, I feel like this season was a redemption season. I think this ranks up there like with season 1, in my opinion. What about you?
Totally agree. Could not agree more. At first, I was a little like, okay, I don't really know. I'm not really invested in this season like that. No one's really grabbing me. And then after episode 2, I was like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, there's a lot happening. There's a lot of there's a lot of diverging storylines going on and kind of different things we were seeing from Micah and Irina in the girls' quarters to there were so many love triangles of who's going to choose who this season. So I started getting really invested. And then definitely once everyone met in the outside world, switcheroos started happening. Couples were flipping on their heads. Like, there was just so much more that season 4 brought. I love the way you said it. Like, I think it definitely revived, kind of gave the franchise a new breath, I guess, because the past season 2 and 3, I was like, I don't know about Love is Blind anymore. I don't really feel like they're casting good people. In this cast, they brought it. Like, I really would rank it high up to season 1. I think it's like probably one of my favorites. So yeah, comparatively, I'm just gonna go ahead and put it out there. I think this is probably my favorite season, even with season 1. I think we just had some great love stories, a lot of drama that we found really fascinating. My TikTok was always going crazy.
I know,
So
mine too.
yeah, definitely a interesting season. And we're gonna get into all of the weddings. So if you have not watched the finale of Love is Blind, I don't know why you're watching this video right now. Go and watch that and then come back to our panel and break it down with us, because we're going to get into all the weddings. We're not going to really recap it. We're just going to get straight into it. But before we get into the weddings, we do have to talk about the one couple who I think brought the most drama and the ones that did not make it to the altar. Jackie and Marshall. Girl, there's so much to talk about with them, but just tell me your overall thoughts about their breakup and how that whole thing went down, because it was pretty messy with her, like getting with Josh and then that whole thing. There's so much to talk about with them, but what are your thoughts?
It was the definition of messy. I'm Team Marshall through and through. Team Marshall. Marshall is just the type of person, I feel like, that he's just so nice and just like, he's exactly what I feel like anybody would want in a guy. You know, he's centered, he cooks, he has such like great instincts. So I really enjoyed Marshall. I feel like him and Jackie just really didn't ever have a moment where they clicked. I mean, I think as soon as they started to click a little bit, I think that she started to pull away. I really do believe that he had feelings for her and really just was trying and committed to the bit. But as far as like what ended up happening with her and Josh, oh man, you know, I will play devil's advocate for a second. You go on this show to find love, right? And the idea and the premise of the show, it's absurd. But once you get past the absurd aspect and you can just kind of lean into that, then, you know, go for it. you know? But at the same time,
Sure.
like with her and Marshall, she didn't handle the Marshall situation correctly. She should have made sure that like everything was tied up with a bow before she even went and pursued Josh. Especially, I
Right.
believe that when you're making a decision like that, you know what you're doing. You know what you want. You know you want a different person. And I get it. Like
Sure.
she clicked with Josh at a different point in this show, and then he came back around. Again, the whole point of the show is to
Mm,
find love, but clean up your mess before you jump and potentially make another one. That's the way that I look at it. So I think that
I agree.
Marshall he got done dirty. He did, and I just feel bad
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
I really, really do. I think it just was handled
Yeah.
not in the correct way at all.
Yeah.
Even like with Josh and Marshall's interaction, you could just tell that like it was like I don't want to say that necessarily Josh is a bully, but it was very much like a bully versus nerd dynamic. Like the interaction that they
He was
had
trying
when
to
they
push
all were
his buttons.
together.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm with you 100%. I think,
Hmm.
though, what I'll add to what you said is I think that Marshall knew, I think, in his gut a little bit more than he let on that this thing with Jackie was not it. And I think that
Hmm.
Marshall has a little bit of responsibility of kind of getting into a relationship that mirrored his previous ones where he kind of likes to be needed and he likes to feel like he can, I hate that he called her a project, but I think he's used to dating girls who do self-sabotage, and I think he chose to be in that situation, and there's something in him that he has to kind of figure out why he did that again. Because I feel like when they were in the outside world, even on the honeymoon when things were well and still okay, you could kind of see there's a little bit of like tension of like they're both kind of
Yes.
acting scared, if that makes sense, of like
Hmm.
this is probably not going to work out. And I think even him cooking for her and doing all of that was a little bit overcompensating because I think he was always scared she was going to dip out and that this was going to implode. So I don't know. I do have thoughts about Marshall, but I feel for both of them to an extent. I definitely feel for Marshall a little bit more because let's talk about Jackie and this whole Joss situation, her meeting up seemingly while, Marshall's getting fitted for his tux.
That was
Wild. I
so
do,
heartbreaking. Oh my
girl,
goodness. Oh,
crazy.
I
But
yelled at my
okay, so
TV.
Jackie's been yelling at my TV, throwing popcorn,
Yeah.
screaming like this girl cannot be doing this. But Jackie's been, talking about on social media that was filmed, that was shown out of order, this, that, the third.
Mhm.
I hear that. Like you, I'll play devil's advocate. Let's say,
Sure.
she did meet up with Josh on a different day. But I mean, she said it to Marshall in their breakup. I met with Josh. Like, so this whole narrative of I broke up with him first and then I met with Josh. I'm just like, we'll have to talk about it, I guess, on the reunion. But I'm just like, it's just messy. To me, it's not even about her liking Josh. I think it's just disrespectful to not like conclude the relationship you were in before completely before you jumped into something else. So that's my problem with Jackie is that I feel like her self-sabotage or her fear or her, attachment style, whatever you want to call it, her issues were bleeding into you're just being disrespectful and it's just like you're just kind of you're just not really being a good person to this other guy that didn't really have, he didn't need that. So that's my
Right.
issue with Jackie and the way she's been in interviews has been very like defensive. So Nick and Vanessa have a lot on their plate and with Jackie and Josh, I don't know if you've seen this, Hannah, but they are together, y'all. Spoiler alert. Okay. Jackie has done an interview saying that her and Josh have moved in together.
Oh
So
my gosh.
what do you think about that?
I haven't seen that interview. I did see a clip that was leaked that looked like it was the two of them at I think it was a baseball game, some type of sporting event. I think it was
Mhm.
baseball. So I
Mhm.
did see that. And that was
Right.
before I'd even really got further in the episodes were out, but I hadn't seen all of them up to that point yet. So I was kind of like, oh, why do
Right.
I? Oh, cool. Somebody's together. Maybe this is a
Yeah, yeah,
potential
yeah.
couple spoiler. I didn't understand the backstory. So then I went and pulled the clip up again. And then
Sure.
I was losing my
You
mind. I
realize
was
you
like,
were
"Oh
spoiled.
my gosh." I was like, "No."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that they're
Yeah.
happy, but she should have cleaned up the mess beforehand with Marshall. That's just what
Totally.
needed to happen.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot that Nick and Vanessa have to grill
They better
Jackie
dig.
about with when it comes to they need to dig because there's even more that TikTok was bringing up of text messages Jackie was sending to her friends about Marshall, things that she was saying. There's just a lot to unpack with them. So I guess we'll have to see what happens on the live reunion very soon. But let's jump into these weddings and the actual finale episode. Let's just go in order of the episode. Let's start with
Okay.
Kwame and Chelsea. Okay. Hannah, I'm sorry, I gotta say it. These two shocked me. I was just so sure that Kwame was saying no. Were you shocked by their marriage? What were your thoughts?
My jaw dropped. I was not expecting
On
this
the
at
floor, in my
all,
lap.
on the floor. I mean, dude,
Yeah.
I was not expecting this at all whatsoever when I saw this pan out on camera.
Mm,
I just I my opinion of their relationship is I think that Kwame is just not right. I'm curious to see if they're still together. That's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I've seen on Instagram that they've posted pictures and stuff like that, but they could also be
sure.
cordial and just playing into it as well. Like, we don't really know if they're actually still 100% together, right? Because I feel like
Fair.
he was giving up so much for her, which in one breath that would one would argue and say, "Oh, that's so nice when somebody has the ability to like uproot their life and they love you that much." But I don't really think in
Mm-hmm.
this case, I think that he would just felt pressured by his age, by the others around him, and just going through
Mm-hmm.
this process. And I think he really does care about Chelsea, but I'm curious to see if he's
Mm-hmm.
able to get over that part of him that still wants to be free, that doesn't want to live exactly where she's at. Like, kind of like Amber and
Right.
Barnett. If you remember from season 1, Barnett was very much like, I feel like the party boy, didn't want to settle down kind of thing, but they made it, so maybe these guys will too. But that's who they kind of
Fair.
reminded me of. I feel like they kind of
Okay.
paralleled their vibe from season 1, but I was shocked when they
Mm-hmm.
said yes. I figured Chelsea would,
Yeah.
because I think Chelsea is
Yeah. Of
so
course.
sure of herself and like she just wants to be with somebody. So I kind of figured Chelsea was just like, I'm getting married today, cross it off the to-dos list. Like, she's into it.
Getting married.
Kwame though, that
Getting
like,
married regardless. Yeah.
yes, yeah. Kwame though saying
Yeah.
yes, I was stunned. I didn't think he was going to say yes. I thought it was going to be the camera
Shock.
following Chelsea down the aisle as she was running out, like most do
Yeah.
that don't make
But
it. You know,
yeah.
I was shocked.
Right.
Very shocked.
No, I was definitely shocked. I mean, I think from what we saw on the show, it just seemed like Kwame loved parts of Chelsea and there was definitely parts
Hmm.
where they were kind of good together, but for the most part we just saw things going wrong or them always getting into a tiff or getting into bumps in the road where I didn't really feel like they were a good match for each other even just like
I felt
communication
like it was
wise or
almost
personality wise.
it was like mother son sometimes. I felt like that. Did you feel like that
She she would
sometimes?
kinda when they had the argument about lecturing, it was very
Yeah.
like, yeah. She just, "Well, that's marriage, that's just marriage, like, you just need to," and I'm like, "Chelsea, like, stop trying to sun him right now," like, I don't know. So, I think that Kwame always just gave energy that he didn't enjoy being around Chelsea, like, from the shopping, scene to I mean, even after they got married. I mean, she's like, I'm your wife." He's like, "Yeah, you are." Like his face just gives hostage. Like he's being held hostage and he's like screaming, "I need to get out." And so I don't know. I will have to see what happens on the reunion. I will say that I watched a full cast interviews is where I'm getting some of this tea from. And in that full cast interview, he said that him and Chelsea are still married, things are good. She's met his
Wow.
mom. So I guess things
Good.
went well, but I will say that I agree with you that I think Chelsea, she would have gotten married to if Kwame was a rock and he walked out of the thing, she'd be like, "I'm about to marry this rock. Are you crazy? Yeah, I want to be married, period." So, yeah, I think, there's that as well, but we'll have to see. I think the one thing that I'm curious about is what were Chelsea's thoughts when she saw the way that Kwame was acting around Micah? Because that was also messy. What do you think?
That was messy. That was very, I feel like the initial reaction to that whole scenario. I feel like Kwame took the heat. And I feel like Micah kind of got
Mm.
away scot free for a bit, but then I think everybody kind of went back and reworked it and they were like, wait a minute, they're really, really
Mhm.
chummy. The fact that they're so chummy in front of the people that they are actively trying to fall in love with and nurture a relationship with, that just blows my mind.
Disrespect.
It's a lot.
Ugh,
And I mean, and the thing is,
disrespectful.
at the end of the day, like no matter what the edit looks like, it happened in front of them.
Mm.
Like it does. If I
Mhm.
were Chelsea in that situation, I would have I would have been a way more upset about it than she was. I would have been like, I don't even care how this comes out. This is the fact that you did this
Mm,
in front of me. I don't have to see an edit. I
mm,
see it firsthand. It's just like,
right.
so that part I
Yeah.
think
I
was very
mean,
interesting.
they were touching hands and
Yeah.
like it was getting really like that was probably the most, disrespectful kind of flirting with your past pod connection
Yeah.
we've seen. I mean, there's been a
It
lot of
went on
verbal
for
talk. I
a
mean, it
right.
went on
And
for a while.
a while.
Like,
Yeah, that's where I was
yeah.
gonna take it. Like it just went on for a very long time. Like even there was a scene I think in the last episode, or I'm sorry, in the last season
Mhm.
of Love Is Blind. I can't remember who it was. It's escaping me, but somebody was flirting with someone else. But that was only for like
Mhm.
a blip of time compared to this. This looked like it went on for like a half hour or more. I mean, and
Listen, I think
multiple
maybe you're
times
thinking
over.
about I mean, in season 2 we had Jarrett and Mallory kind of flirty. Then in
That's what
season
it
3
was.
we
Uh
had
huh.
Cole kind of asking
Oh gosh.
Colleen if she okay. But with Micah
Yeah.
and Kwame, he asked her every time he saw her, "Are you happy? Are you good?" You
Yeah.
like I'm just like, "What's up with
I wish
that?" Like
Micah
there's
would
a
have been
lot. I
like,
mean, he's got to
yeah.
yeah. He's got some questions he's got to answer himself with that, but we'll have to see what happens with that. Because there's been a long time since they filmed this. They filmed this season back in May of 2022. So, or they wrapped filming in May. So it's been almost a year. So, time heals all, but we'll see
For sure.
what comes out in the live reunion. Let's talk about Micah, okay, since we're on subject Micah. Paul and Micah's wedding. Okay, so these two were 50-50 for me on whether or not I thought they were going to get married. Paul ended up saying no at the altar, which shocked me, but this is what really shocked me. He said no because Micah asked him, well, not because, but after Micah had, what's the word I'm looking for? Propositioned him to go
Hmm.
first, which I found really, really fascinating of a move. What did you think about Micah doing that?
I again jaw on the floor. Oh my gosh, this took me out of left field completely because the thing
Mhm,
is like
mhm.
you don't do that. You don't go back to you. Like it's not you don't do that. You answer. That's
Right,
I would think so. I would be
right.
so insulted if my partner did that to me. Um
Yeah.
I would not be okay with that. And I
Mhm,
think that's ultimately what drove Paul to say no. I think he was going to say yes. And I think that he had to take that in and process a lot within that amount of
mhm,
time, whatever that was, a couple
mhm,
minutes, a couple seconds. I don't know with the editing, but like, I don't believe that that was, I think right there that that showed where her maturity level is truly at. Because there were times
mhm,
during the show where I was into Micah and I thought that she was growing. I felt like she had some mean girl tendencies that she was starting to shake off. But then every time that she was with her friends, I felt like those kind of bled back in, and then she would have to shake it off
mhm.
again. But overall,
Right.
I just think that that showed the maturity level, and that just proved right there that I don't think she was ready to be married. And I think that Paul handled it in a very nice way. And even for him going up and trying to console her at the end and talk to her, I haven't really
Mhm.
seen. I don't think or at least none of them stick out to me. I think that that's the most sincere attempt I've seen at the guy trying to go and actually like talk to the girl after being
Sure. After he
stood
said
up at the
no. Yeah.
altar. Yeah, so
Right. Yeah.
I thought it was appalling. What did you think about her reaction with that?
Yeah. Yeah. So when Micah first, said, "Hey, I actually want you to answer first," and even her explanation of why, it's like she was like, "I needed to know like what he was going to do before I could say yes or no." It reminded me of how she was in the pods. And it made me feel like it was a little manipulative because I felt like in the pods, even with Kwame and Paul, she was kind of like, well, I can only fully commit to you if you fully commit to me, you have to do it first. And although I understand like the base of that reasoning, it just comes off very manipulative. It's like you put yourself out there or not. You don't like, well, I'm only gonna like you if you like me. It's like a little childish to me. It's like you either love this guy or not, like, period. You know what I mean? So I felt like it
Mhm.
was just very reminiscent of that. But what was interesting was, Paul's reasoning for why he said he felt like the love actually wasn't reciprocated on Micah's end. Like he felt like she wasn't really fully in. And that made me kind of be like, okay, wait, because Micah was saying that she always felt like she wasn't safe with Paul fully. Like he wasn't all
Mhm.
in. So now I'm like, her running off, her getting so upset, her crying, is it a little fake? Is it like how much did you really, because that threw me off too, because the whole time up into the wedding, I was kind of like, this Micah even really like Paul like that? I couldn't really get a grasp on how she really felt. So it was just really interesting. There's a lot to unpack again for the reunion because also my Paul dropped a huge bomb saying that he felt like another reason why he said no was he didn't really feel like Micah had that much of a nurturing side to her, in which, he felt like maybe she wouldn't be the best mom. He couldn't envision her being a mom, which is a big thing to say. You know what I mean? And that has to be talked about at the reunion because yeah, that's just a huge, huge thing for him to say. And my only thing about that is, well, you didn't just figure that out at the altar, right? Like that was something that you had thought about like before. So, Paul and Micah were definitely the main ones honing in on. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to say yet until I
Mhm.
get up there and I'm like, I think you guys knew what you going to say. So again, a lot for them to unpack. But what did you think about, Paul's statement about Micah not being nurturing? Like where do you think he's getting at with that?
What I think is interesting, if you're going to make a comment like that, I mean, you have to look at the idea of being a lady, right? I mean, I have maternal
Mhm.
instincts. I have a cat. I treat him like my kid. I'm sure you have maternal instinct. There's certain elements of maternal instincts that I feel like you just have and possess. And the
Yeah.
thing is, when you take a shot at somebody like that, you're coming for their wiring. You're not coming for them personally. You're not even
Mm,
coming for their personality. You're coming at like how how a girl is designed, in my opinion.
sure,
So
sure.
I think when you take a shot at that, and also I look at it this way: whether or not you want to even have children, wouldn't you want to be with somebody? Wouldn't you consciously make the decision to continue to nurture a relationship with somebody who does have maternal instincts? So, in my opinion, for him to turn around and to say that, it's like, well, then how are you? Why are you sticking it out then? Wouldn't you want somebody that has
Mm,
maternal instincts? Unless you're absolutely not looking to have any kids later on down the road, and even like you don't know if you want that or
yeah.
not. It's easy to get married and say, "Oh, I never want that." And then not that he did, and then change your mind. That happens
Mhm,
all the
mhm.
time. All the time. So
Yeah,
I just think his
yeah.
comment about that is just like I don't appreciate that he made that comment. I
It's
think that that was
interesting.
kind of rude. Um, but
Yeah,
regardless,
interesting.
like why are you nursing a relationship with somebody then
Mhm.
that if you really feel that way, which I don't know whether or not he actually did. If
Sure.
that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I think that does make sense. I think, what I'll say is maybe that was strong words that he used for something that might have some validity to it because we have to talk
Mhm.
about Micah and her friends. I think that
Yes.
at this point, with the way that Shelby and the other girls were acting at this wedding, I mean, we don't have to see anything more to know that her friends are just they're horrible. They're
They
horrible. They're probably the
they
most
set
the most
they s-
despicable side characters in this whole series.
I think they set a record for reality TV. I don't think that I've ever seen so many tweets and memes and comments and posts about people that
About
are
people
featured in the background that are
featured,
affiliated
not
with the
even
main
in the
stars.
cast.
Like
Okay? We know
they're
her name is
iconic at
Shelby.
this point. Yeah.
They're iconic. But at this point, I think that it's
Uh,
reflective of Micah and her character. I mean, Even going back
Yes.
to Micah getting in the pods and being best friends with Irina, who called her fiance a cartoon character. I mean, it's just like who
Forgot
laughed
about
at
that.
people crying, over getting broken up with. I think at this point, Paul's feelings about, hey, maybe this whole nurturing thing is maybe coming from that. You know what I mean? Because I think that's hard for us to just look over. I mean, it's pretty blatant. So, what do you think about just like Micah's character in general? And how do you want to see that be talked about? Because I think, it's been a year, like I said, maybe she's grown, but what were your thoughts about that?
I think ultimately her character was portrayed in at the altar. I think for her to turn around
Yeah.
and give him the back to you treatment with the "I do," and her not being able to answer first
Mhm.
when she's called upon to answer first, I think that
Mhm.
that shows the immaturity level. And I think also for Paul to even have the ability to walk down the aisle and to try to console her after that just happened, and for him to stand there and tell her like, and I truly believe that he meant when he said like, "I love you, I really do love you." Like, and we've seen other
Yeah.
couples in Love is Blind history that don't work out at the altar that do give it another shot, that try to remedy
True.
something from the relationship. It's not impossible, you
Mhm.
know. I think that
Yeah.
her character was just ultimately shown. I think that that whole scene right there wrapped everything up with a bow for her character throughout the season. I think that her friends
Yeah.
bring her down, and I don't know why she
Mm.
chose those particular girls to bring on to the to the big screen to show, because at the end of the day your friends are a representation of you. Be selective with who you surround
Right.
yourself with, and
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that they had such mean girl tendencies. They remind me of mean girls
Mm.
from school. That's just kind
Yes.
of
Yes.
where it lies. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Very
it's
immature, just
yeah,
very telling of like where you're at in life to sit here and laugh at this girl crying. It's very
yeah,
telling. And, I hope that Micah sees that, has watched it back and is like, okay, there's some growing here for me to do. Um, and so, yeah, we'll have to unpack that at the reunion. There is so much to talk about. We keep bringing this up
so
because,
much.
some of our questions still aren't answered. At this point,
Right.
Shelby needs to be brought out at the reunion.
She does.
But
Pull up an extra chair.
pull up an extra
I'd
chair
love it if
for
they did
her,
that.
okay? Oh gosh. All right, let's get into the it couple of the season. We all know, we all love them. Brett and Tiffany, they were the most solid through and through of the whole season. So there was no surprises here that, both of them said yes, tearfully,
Yeah.
joyfully. The whole wedding was so beautiful. There were so many great moments on their wedding day. But Hannah, what stood out to you the most about their wedding day? What was like your
Their
favorite
wedding.
part?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I loved seeing Tiffany sit in the bed, and I loved her interview. I loved all of those clips of Tiffany just
Yeah.
talking about him, and then just like I love the interaction that Brett had with her dad too, and asking for
Love
the
that.
ability to have the confidence to ask for the blessing 20 minutes before you're walking down the aisle or whatever it is. I'm exaggerating. But like
Right, right, right.
that's very confident,
Mhm.
that's very certain, and I just think that
Yeah.
these two are just foolproof, man. If they ever split, I know nothing at this point, and I have to go back to the drawing board with love.
Giving up.
They're so wonderful together. And honestly, I
Yeah.
will say, I think a lot of it
Mhm.
has to do with their age. I think they're a little bit
Mm.
older than the rest of the cast, and I think that there's something to be
Yeah.
said about getting married into your later ages of life, into your 30s. I think that there's
Mhm.
something to be said about that. Um, I think
Yeah.
it's a little bit more foolproof. Not for everybody. Of course, people get married at 20 and 21 and they last, and more power to them. But like, I just think that they
Mhm.
work because of their ages too. I kind of paid attention to that throughout the
Yeah.
season, and where their problems lied and where everybody else's lied. Everybody else's, it seemed like it was very college and high school esque type of things. And for them, I felt like
Mhm.
anything that was talked about, they even just, they hashed everything out in such a mature way.
Yeah.
Brett never had any
Communicated so
hesitation.
well.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if she had hesitation, he doused it for her. That is so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, they were so great to see. They were definitely one of my favorites. I mean, I
Mhm.
loved that we got to see such a strong couple that was mature and handling themselves so well and so who like what you were saying, they know themselves. And I think that's what kind of set them apart is that they're so secure in who they are individually as people because they're later in life, they're very sure of themselves and they know themselves through and through versus like a Jackie and a Marshall who it's like you can tell there's discrepancies within how their own relationship with themselves, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So they've done their work,
100%.
they're settled in life, they're mature, and I just loved seeing Black love be represented so well on screen in such a big show. So I was just so proud of them. I think one of my favorite moments was definitely when his dad was like, "You need my crying towel?" And he was like,
I
"No, dad, I
know.
don't need your crying towel." And then he kept asking him, "You sure you don't need my crying towel?" And then right when Tiffany came out, he was bawling, crying. So
Aw.
it was so, so, so sweet. The other moment that we had to talk about at their wedding was it was the only snag in their whole wedding. Everything was perfect except Brett's pants were not fitting him right. And
Oh my
my guy
goodness.
had almost a breakdown about these pants. I mean,
I
I
know.
thought him and his brother were about to like duke it out about something else. I was like, what's going on? What's the drama? What happened?
Mhm.
And then it was an hour and a half before the wedding. He is like, I'm about to go get these pants hemmed. What did you think about that? Because if I was Tiffany and I watched that back, I would be like, Brett, you almost missed our wedding for these pants. Like, what did you think about that?
My favorite thing about that is the fact that Brett, and again, look at editing, look at what was shot. At the end of the day, things get chopped up and things
Mhm.
happen. But I love that that was the only issue that Brett even
Right.
like brought to the table. If you think of anything throughout this whole season, if there's anything that Brett got even a little bit like passionate about that wasn't involving Tiffany, it
Mhm.
was this. And I just love that for
Mhm.
him. I love that that's like his chaotic moment is about his pants. He was nicknamed Bougie Brett for a reason. I love it. I love guys that like give style a chance and a go and that they care about like
Mhm.
how they look. I think that there's something to be said about that. So I think what you said about like
Yeah.
Tiffany being like, oh my gosh, really, that's what you were concerned, you almost missed the wedding because of that. I think that's just adorable that that's like that's the thing that
Yeah.
she'd look back on the footage and get mad about. And then that's so
Right,
minute,
right.
But
So
I thought it
minute.
was
And
so
knowing
funny.
Tiffany, yeah, knowing
You'd be
Tiffany,
like,
I've heard her talk about, the reason why her and Brett work so well and communicate so well is they don't get caught up in the little things that don't matter. Like,
right.
at the end of the day, they're like, you're my person. So whether or not you didn't do this little thing or whatever, we don't they don't harp on the little things. They don't make it a big deal. Like I'm sure she watched it back and just laughed, like, well, you made it. So it's all good. It's okay. And
Yeah.
like you were saying, he's into style, he's into fashion. Like
He
it's
is.
as if like, for him that's as if like a woman's like your wedding dress didn't fit. Like I understand being a designer why that really really bothered him. And, he was like I need to get this fixed. I don't care. Like I'm doing this. This is my wedding day. This matters. So,
Mhm.
I found it interesting. I found it kind of funny, and I think at the end of the day, they were just so beautiful together. I loved how emotional they were about each other, and Hannah, that last shot of them in that green pickup truck
I
after they
know.
got married was so gorgeous with the mountains in
I
the
know.
background. Oh my god. It was
I
so
know.
gorgeous. It was so perfect. I loved the location of where they all got
I
married.
was gonna say, I
So,
the wedding venue
yeah.
was my favorite one that they've used so
Oh
far
my
out of all
gosh,
of the
favorite one they've
seasons. It
ever
was
done.
gorgeous. I might use that one day. I love
Hands
it. It was
down.
gorgeous.
Hands
Yeah.
down. Somewhere in Seattle, I guess, somewhere in that area. So very, very
Yeah.
pretty. All right. So let's get to our last couple, but certainly not the least of the group. We have Zach and Bliss, who were a very polarizing couple of the season, I have to say. I'll go ahead and put it out there. I was stressed over these two because I'm a fan. I've been a fan of Zach and Bliss from the beginning. I always felt like they were meant to be. I knew when Zach picked Irina over her, it was really just because he was afraid and not because he didn't love Bliss more. And I think we saw that when he just broke down after breaking up with her. So, what were your thoughts though on this whole, you know, Bliss kind of being, I guess, the quote second choice, which I have thoughts about, but what did you think
Mhm.
about that? And did you feel like because of that, like she should have said yes, or what were your thoughts? Were you rooting for them at all, or did you kind of feel opposite?
Okay, so here's my deal with Zach and Bliss. I'm
Mhm.
I was very okay. First of all, I'm glad that it's not Irina. Irina, Irina's Irina. She's a whole different category. We're not even going to go there.
Whole
Um,
different story.
she's a whole
Right.
different. She's a whole different panel. We're not going to go there. Um, for Zach and Bliss, here's my situation.
Mhm.
I think that
Okay.
these two have potential to make it. My only thing
Mhm.
with Zach and Bliss throughout the duration of the show is I get it.
Mhm.
Bliss is upset about being second choice. But again, I
Sure.
don't think that everybody keeps in mind the absurdity of the show. And when you shake that
Right.
absurdity and you just if you shake that notion of it and you just dive in and commit, and if you sometimes have to come back and remind yourself what the heck you're doing, what this is, you're getting married in 20 days, 10 days. I mean, it's nuts, right? So, my thing is
Crazy.
for her being second fiddle and for the amount of times that she reminded him about that, I didn't appreciate that
Mhm.
because Zach, in my opinion, was very
Okay.
remorseful. This kid is so nice. He is
Mm,
such an
he's so
ideal
sweet.
boy, right? I mean, he's smart, his job is good,
Yeah.
like he's a sweetheart and
Yeah.
I've he genuinely showed remorse. So I think like letting him
Mhm.
know that you're upset about it passive aggressively a few times is good enough. I don't think that it needed to be dragged out as much as it was. To be fair, it could have also been the producers wanting for that to come out more and more and for they could easily be feeding
Right.
her lines to
The
pick her up and
editing
to
of
talk
that.
about it. Absolutely.
Sure.
So,
Mm.
but the thing is, like at the end of the day, I'm very glad that they said yes. I was surprised. I thought that Bliss was going to pull a deep D or or who was it? Was it Deep
Oh,
D or
so
no? It was
yeah.
or no. Wait, hold on. Who was it? Who's
Zenib.
the other girl? Zenib. Zenib. I thought she was going to
Oh
pull a Zenib.
god.
That's what I was afraid
Oh
of.
no. She would have
Um
became public enemy
uh,
number 1 if she pulled
yeah,
the
and
Zenib
I was like
and
please don't pull
just
a Zenib.
destroyed that boy.
Yeah, please don't. So I'm glad that that didn't end up happening. Um,
Mhm.
I am glad that they're together. I really just hope
Yeah.
that like their marriage, I hope he doesn't get reminded every single day that she was second choice because at the end of the day
Oh
too, like
no.
he didn't, you don't know. I mean, you know when you propose,
Yeah.
but you also just know that like that person's good enough for right now. Like you don't really know until you meet the person and see where your chemistry lies. So I'm just
Sure.
hoping that like he's not
Yeah.
woken up and reminded every single day, like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're
No,
together, but
I hear
remember,
you.
you know. So all in all, I feel like that maybe the edits and the way that she was portrayed, it continuously just kind of made it look like she was second choice. But I really think that he was actually her or she was actually his first choice because of the fact that like
Mhm.
they did click
Mhm.
so well. They had so many signs that they were
Yeah.
comparing. The song, the owl. Remember the owl? The owl. Like
Everything.
I think that I think that he just ended up going for safety when he chose Irina. I think that that's really
Mhm.
what it was at the end of
Exactly.
the day. And we saw how hard her
Yeah.
family was on him. His fear did kind of come true. What did you think of her dad at that point with
Yeah.
how he reacted to Zach?
Her dad was just, I mean, I get being skeptical, but I think there was just
Mhm.
so much tension and like not even giving it a shot to get to
Right.
know Zach. I mean, I think he had a missed opportunity of it was a misplaced conversation to have with Bliss about like this is crazy, this is ridiculous. That is understandable, but that's not the time for this right now. You need to sit here and get to know this guy and like actually suss out if you think he really is a good match for your daughter, not just automatically have your blinders on if that makes sense. So that was my problem with the dad. And there
Mhm.
was clearly some kind of prior tension between him and Bliss. But interestingly
Mhm.
enough, and even going to your point about what Zach had to say about about the, he said to his friends on the day of the wedding, like Bliss was actually my first choice, but I was really really afraid about like her family, and it really triggered me this kind of argument that we had, and there were some things that he was bringing up, which I was like exactly what I thought. I mean, the way he broke down and cried about breaking up with her, it was clear, okay, you really love her, but you're just being scared. But even in
Mhm.
that conversation, he was like, I actually like her dad. I get where he's coming from. I think he's a real dude. And so maybe again with the editing, they kind of were making it seem like it was worse than it really was. Maybe there was a resolve to that dinner that they had, and they just kind of only showed us the bad parts. And even just to answer what your thoughts were on Bliss, my only thing is I kind of felt like I understood why Bliss was giving pushback. I think
Mhm.
one, we have to remember this what you said earlier. It's like it's been like a week. It's been like 10 days. She's still not over it. 2 days before you just crushed me. You just broke up with me. Was crying. I had to go home, grieve that, then you come back and you want to be with me and you want to get engaged to me. It's just a lot for her to process at once. And I felt like she would bring it up, but it was, to me at least, a little playful of just like, I have to give you a hard time because that was really crazy. Like, I told you Irina was trash. Like, why did you even, you know what I mean? So I kind of understood where she was coming from, but I think it did even out just the way that she talked about Zach, the way that she admired him and she respects him. And I think that's what they have in their relationship that also just makes it so legit to me is their level of respect for each other and how much they get each other. And I mean, Zach is he's a weird guy and she just loves him for him. And I think that's just so beautiful. I like Zach. So I
Mhm.
think I'm rooting for them. I have to bring up people we're talking about, in a lot of the post interviews Zach was doing. He's got this huge beard and people are feeling like it's like a breakup beard or something. What did you think? Did you see the beard? What did you think about that?
I've seen the beard. I can totally understand how people are assuming for that to be a breakup beard. I don't necessarily think that that's what it is in this case.
Yeah. Mhm.
I think that it's almost like a beard, like, out of stress, if that makes any sense. I think it's kind of like when you
Mhm.
shoot a reality show and then you have a period of time before, like, you know what happened. The public is going to see it. The
Right.
public is going to have an opinion. That's part of something being
Right.
released to the public. I think that there's this period of time of safety where you know that it's not coming out, you're good to go. And I think that there's this psychological thing that happens where you want to make adjustments to your appearance. It's almost like you're shedding that version of yourself that everybody gets to know,
Mm.
and then you're controlling and bringing
Mhm.
in this new version of you that's like, it's almost like it's a protector, it's like a block almost. I think it's a
Yeah.
psychological thing, because if
Interesting.
you'll look
Interesting.
look at, just pay attention to any history of like reality shows and reunions. Everybody always looks so
Mhm.
different at the reunions. The girls have more
Yeah.
hair, they have
Yeah.
extensions, their hair's lighter, it's darker.
Right.
In his case, he looks like he's been living in the woods for 4 months without a razor,
Yeah.
like, even his hair,
Right,
I think,
right.
was longer, so
Yeah, the beard was definitely giving a little, kind of mountain man, what is going on? But I do have the tea on the beard. I've been deep diving since the finale, and Zach posted about grew the beard and was doing this whole like, should I cut it? Should I not? For like a charity that he was doing. So
Huh.
I think that it was just something along those lines. And I do like your point about it's been a while, it's been a long time. People just have a different look. And
Mhm.
so maybe he just was kind of trying something different. Also, along with my deep dive, I've been watching everybody's stories because the reunion is about to be filmed and they're all in LA. And he did post a story of Bliss, looking out of their hotel window with hard eyes. So I think him and Bliss are doing fine. They're
Aw.
still married. I think they're still doing great. And, Zach has even, I've seen people post, on TikTok and stuff of just his rebuttals of the whole first choice, second choice. And Zach has gone to extent, amounts to express that, and I think he'll have more space to do that at the reunion. Talk about how, yes, Irina was the first choice that I made, but that does not mean she was the best choice for me. And I knew that immediately. And so I think we'll have a lot more time with Zach at the reunion tomorrow to see him unpack that. And if Irina shows up, goodness gracious, we'll have even more to talk about if Irina is there, which I hope that she is. I'm assuming that she'll be there. But before we talk about like just our thoughts on what we want to see at the reunion, I want to know, Hannah, who do you think had the best vows of all the weddings?
Okay, my answer is probably gonna surprise you. Um,
Okay.
Ironically, and this is just because growing up a theater kid and everything like that, there's something that's a scripting is safe, right? And going on script is very safe to do. I really liked Kwame's vows. I love the fact that he just
Oh.
threw it to the wind and was just like, and he said something along the lines of, I forget exactly what he said, but it was something in the realm of like, I'm just gonna say what I'm thinking right now. Or I'm just gonna say what's on my heart. And I felt like what he did say actually came from his heart. Actually, those vows just
Mm,
stood out to me because it didn't seem like he
okay.
rehearsed them. It seemed like he was present and in the moment and responded to what Chelsea's vows were. And I actually enjoyed that. I think that that's very nice, and to see somebody's confidence to not go on script for something like that, especially because so many people
Mm,
do script out their vows. Just thought that was really interesting. I
mhm.
don't know if maybe it was the best, but
Yeah.
that one stood out and resonated with me personally. But what about you?
Yeah.
Who did you like the most?
Yeah, okay, interesting choice of Kwame. I don't know, Hannah, I'm sorry. I'm a little hard on Kwame just because
Yeah.
I feel like, he might have just really memorized what he was gonna say and kind of just juiced the moment. I don't know. Kwame,
Hmm.
I don't know if you knew this, but Kwame was also trying to be on Married at First Sight, which is a part of the same production company as Love is Blind. I think it's called Kinetic.
Hmm.
So he, applied for that. You can find it on TikTok, girl. Clips of him. He wasn't obviously an established couple because that would mean he was married, but he was seen in the background in the application process. So I'm
Wow.
just like, Kwame, you've been trying to get on TV before. I don't know.
I didn't know that.
Maybe
I
that'll
did
be
not know
talked about
that.
at the reunion. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's
Noted.
why I'm just like,
Noted.
even Kwame trying to be with Chelsea and being so gung ho. I mean, you're married. So I don't think you would stay married to somebody that you really didn't want to continue to be with just for the clout. That is crazy to me. But, I have reservations. But I'm sure there's tons of people who, you like we say when we talk about The Bachelor, it's like there's a lot of people who
Mhm.
go on just for TV and the opportunities, and I understand that. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
anyway, I would say honestly, my favorite vows of the weddings had to be Zach's. I felt like Zach, the first line he said was just, it hit me. He was like, I knew the moment I loved you was when I said goodbye. Was just,
That
I
is
was
such
like,
a
oh
good
no, I need
point.
a
Can I
minute.
change my answer?
I
I'm gonna
paused
copy and
it.
paste that.
Listen, I paused it. I wrote it down in my notes because I was like,
Mhm.
that's a song. You know me, the songwriter. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that's a song. Like, period.
Absolutely.
No, I just loved it. I love and I just felt like you saw him. I mean, a lot of Tiffany and Brett definitely got emotional saying their vows too, but
Mhm.
Zach is not a very emotional person. So to see him get emotional and say how much he loved her, and he really just he I feel like he really poured his heart out. And that was nice to see of just what we were talking about with them prior of like, the second choice thing, and it was just nice to see him be like, "No, I'm so glad that I'm with you," and even after. I loved I could gush about them on and on and on, so let me just stop there. Because we have to talk about the reunion. So,
Oh my
the live
goodness.
reunion is Sunday. Like we've been saying this entire panel, there's so much to cover. But not just with the 4 final couples, but obviously with Jackie and Marshall and Josh and Irina, who are kind of the outliers of a lot of the couples. So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, people that need to be grilled. Hannah, what are you looking for at this reunion?
I'm gonna say I'm actually least interested in where the couples stand. Out of all of it, I'm
Okay.
confident that they're all probably okay. Also,
I think so too.
This was a season where we saw the most turnout, I think, wasn't it? I think we saw 3 couples
3
say
weddings,
yes.
3 marriages. Yeah, this was
That
the
is the
most.
most
You're
that we've
right.
ever seen. And I'm
It's true
confident
in
that,
one season. Very true.
yeah, I'm confident that they're all still together. So I mean, of course I want to hear
Mhm.
what's going on. I'm sure they're going to give the
Mhm.
generic trials and tribulations of being married so quickly and they got to the real world and but they're still together, so it can't
What
be
it's
that
been
bad.
like for this whole year. Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
I'm curious to see about Jackie. I want to see about Marshall. I want to deep dive
Yeah.
into that. I want to hear about Josh. And oh man, I forgot about Irina. Oh, bring her back. Oh, put her right in the middle. I want to see it. I
Hot
am
seat. He needs a
hot
hot
seat.
seat.
Hot seat, girl. I want
Yeah.
Irina and Zach to sit next to each other, and I want Bliss by Zach's side, and I want to see that. Like,
And being
show me the
like,
staging, you know?
with her ring, like,
it's gonna be a juicy reunion.
Gonna be a
Yeah,
good one.
let's just be like,
Yeah.
hey, hi.
Hi.
Oh
No,
my gosh,
I
I
think
didn't
that
see it.
Nick and Vanessa listen, Nick and Vanessa have a lot on their plate because this is a
Yeah,
live event. We have a lot of questions that need to be answered and a lot of people that have done some very, very questionable things, kind of treating people wrong, just a lot of people's mental health and kind of up in the air of just like Jackie and where she's at, like she needs therapy, I think. So I think
yeah.
Nick and Vanessa have a big, big responsibility. And I'm telling you right now, Hannah, if they fail for the fourth time at this reunion, because I just feel like every reunion, I don't feel like they squeeze all the juice out of the lemon. I'm like, what is wrong? Why are you guys trying to be everyone's friend? Why are you guys trying to have a kumbaya session? This is not the time for this. I need you to be hard on these people. I need you to grill them. I'm telling you right now, if they fail again, I'm going to commission for them to be replaced because it's just this is a clear, this is one of the clear things of how they need to improve on this show. What do you think about them as hosts? And even also I'll add to this, what do you want to see kind of moving forward? This is our fourth season. What do you want to see them add or do differently moving forward in Love is Blind?
Okay, this is just purely my opinion on Nick and Vanessa. I like them as people. I
Mhm.
respect them as a couple.
Okay.
I think they're cute. I'm just going to get that out the way right now. However, in
Sure.
terms of, and I understand that with hosting, I get it. I mean, the producers are going to put you in where they see fit, and then they're going to take you out and they tell you what to do. I feel like
Mhm.
they pop up like prairie dogs out of holes. I forget that they are the hosts of the show. Like they're in the very beginning episodes and they're like, you're
Mhm.
you're gonna date and you're not gonna know who the other person is. They explain the rules and then they disappear and then they pop up and then they're like, how's it going? And the cast is always like, not good. And they're like, well, that's like what
Oh,
they
well,
do. I
sorry.
They're like, well, that's love. See you in 5 episodes.
Right?
They go away. I don't know why. So
Yeah.
I'm like, if you want to incorporate the hosts, and this is more a note on the production
Mhm.
side, not on Nick and Vanessa's side. Again, they're doing what they're told to do. On the production
Sure.
side, I would actually like to understand. I don't understand Nick and Vanessa's relationship very much. I understand the anecdotes that
Mm.
they tell us over and over again, but I don't
Mhm.
understand their relationship. I don't know why they're qualified to be the hosts for this show. So I would like to learn more about
Totally
them
agree.
and have like a mentoring session. Like maybe Nick Lachey like gives
Yes.
those final 5, 6, however many people end up making it through. Like and have a sit down session and do like a Q&A with Nick because if he's the host, he's got to be an expert, but we don't know how he's an
Right.
expert. We don't know how Vanessa's an
Right.
expert. It's almost like if we're going to have hosts on the show, bring them in full
Mhm.
force. Otherwise, at this
Have them
point,
actually host it. They don't actually
yeah,
host it.
and
Do
serve a
not.
mentoring purpose, right? Like actually help
Sure.
these people along because otherwise these girls are all it's 5 girls and 5 guys and they only know each other. They're they're tied off to one another and their drama. They don't have
Mhm.
any external forces at play to help them make
Yeah.
decisions. And people are
Yeah.
people. They're going to have biases. Some girl's not going to like some guy cuz her friend ended up getting turned down by that guy. They have biases. So bring an
Mm.
unbiased party, bring the hosts and let them do their job and
Right.
be a mentor.
Right.
Or don't have a host at this point, have them solely in the beginning of the show and then they tap out for the rest of it. But the trickling in and
Yeah.
out, I just and I think that honestly, I
Mm.
think that their relationship connection, I will say this, is built on the days that they're on set. And if that's not every single day, then they don't have a connection with the cast. Hence why, they probably can't
Mm.
ask them questions the way that they want to. There's not that
They don't
comfortability to
feel like they have
penetrate through the
rapport with
surface.
them.
Right on. I
That's
think we
good,
just cracked
Hannah.
the code.
I totally agree. I think that we cracked the code. They need to be way more involved within the season through and throughout the entire thing to build a rapport with the couples that they feel like they have a stake in kind of just enough of a relationship with the individual people to be able to kind of push the envelope with them and ask the questions and really go hard on them. And I think that another thing I'll say is I just don't feel like Nick and Vanessa have proved themselves to be invaluable to the show. Like we could have Lana host the show. Lana from Too Hot to Handle, the little cone
That would be
from
funny.
Too Hot to Handle. Like, we don't, it's at this point, they're just transitional pieces for the next stage of the show. And it's interesting to me that they aren't more involved as the kind of originators of the first, American Love is Blind, because on Love is
Mhm.
Blind Japan, the couples actually sit down with the hosts and they get for each stage, like during the honeymoon, they'll FaceTime with the hosts and they'll be asked questions. I don't know if you ever seen Love is Blind Japan. It's actually
I
very,
haven't
very
seen
good.
that version. Okay,
It's
I'll
so
look into
great.
that.
It's like very genuine. It's just the love stories are really nice and it's just so sweet to see a different culture kind of within the whole world of Love is Blind. But they sit down with the host and the hosts actually give them advice. They give them their thoughts, their opinions. And I think
Mhm.
that's something that could be really helpful because like we see on A Married at First Sight, they're actually
That's where I
talking
was
to
gonna go with it.
sociologists, they're talking to a
Yes.
therapist, they're talking to a pastor, people who have like actual like valuable what's the word I'm looking for?
Um,
They have valid they have a valid reason to be giving advice. I don't really understand other than Nick and Vanessa being married, the validity of them being here. So them as like, hosts of this show and then them as hosts period, I don't really think they do that great of a job. So
well, they're
I'm
probably
looking at
sitting.
them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're probably sitting in their hotel room watching the whole season right now, catching up, or in their home or wherever, catching up just like you and I are,
Right.
because like they've met with the
Yeah.
cast, but they don't know every single thing
They
that
don't know
happened,
them. Yeah.
you
Right.
know?
Like, they're coming in and they're kinda like, "Hey, how's it going?" Like, they don't really know what's going on, and I'm like, "This is your show, and it's clear to me that you don't even know what's happening within the filming of this season." Now, I'll give them a little bit benefit of the doubt in that, they are filming multiple seasons of the show at once, so maybe they're spread a little thin,
Mhm.
which I think is another issue for me. I kinda need them to kinda get this whole timing situation right because y'all making these people wait a year to announce that they're married is crazy. Like, the timing issue of Love is Blind needs to be cleaned up because we're having a live reunion and talking about something that happened a year ago, and then we're gonna have After the Altar, and that's probably was filmed a while ago too. It's a lot. So Love is Blind has a great concept. It's obviously a very iconic show. There's so much to always talk about. There's so much drama and great love stories, but I think that there's pieces that by season 5 we need to start doing better. So, we'll see how Nick and Vanessa do when it comes to this live reunion on Sunday at 8 p.m. I'm going to be sitting on my couch waiting with bated breath with my popcorn with my girls. So we'll talk about that next week, but that about wraps up our panel today for the Love is Blind season 4 finale. So leave us your thoughts in the comment section below on what you think is going to happen at the live reunion show coming out very soon. And don't forget before you go to give this video a like, subscribe to Shared News, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next panel. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Kayla Thompson, joined today by Hannah Fletcher. Make sure you come check us out on our social medias. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.